دوستوں میرا آج کا ویڈیو تھوڑا میرے معمول کے ویڈیو سے ڈیفرنٹ ہے اور کافی لمبا بھی. میں چاہتا تو اس کو ایڈٹ کر کے کافی چھوٹا کر سکتا تھا، لیکن میں نے سوچا کہ اگر اس کو میں نے ایڈٹ کیا تو جو ہماری گفتگو ہوئی ہے اس کا مزہ تھوڑا سا پھیکا پڑ جائے گا. سو لہٰذا میں نے منیمم ایڈٹس کے ساتھ اس کو ڈالا ہوا ہے. آئی ریئلائز تھوڑی لمبی ہے ویڈیو، لیکن انڈیا اور پاکستان سے جتنے بھی لوگ میرا چینل ویو کرتے ہیں ان سے میری ریکویسٹ ہے تھوڑا سا ٹائم نکالیں، یہ ویڈیو دیکھیں. I am 100% sure you wouldn't be disappointed. بڑا مزہ آئے گا آپ لوگوں کو. السلام علیکم دوستوں، چینل میں آپ کو خوش آمدید. جو لوگ میرے چینل سے واقف نہیں ہیں ان کے لیے ایک چھوٹا سا انٹروڈکشن میں کر دوں. میں ایک ریٹائرڈ پاکستانی بورن کینیڈین ہوں. یہ جو پیچھے آپ میرے RV دیکھ رہے ہیں یہ میں نے اپنے 2 ہاتھوں سے اور آف کورس بہت سارے ٹولز کی مدد سے خود سے بنائی ہے. اور اس میں پریزنٹلی میں US کے ٹور کے اوپر نکلا ہوا ہوں. اٹس اے ویری سلو پیسڈ ویری لیجرلی ٹور آف دا US. اور کوشش میں یہ کر رہا ہوں کہ میں نہ صرف خود بڑے ڈیپلی US کلچر کو اور ان کی انٹریکیسیز کو جان سکوں، بلکہ اپنے ویورز تک بھی وہ پہنچاؤں. تو اسی سلسلے میں نے اپنے ویورز سے یہ کہا تھا کہ جی جہاں پہ بھی مجھے موقع ملے گا، کوئی انٹرسٹنگ شخص سے میری ملاقات ہوگی تو میں ضرور ان کے ساتھ بیٹھ کے ڈیٹیل میں گپ شپ کروں گا، اور وہ گپ شپ جو ہے تو آپ لوگوں تک پہنچاؤں گا. اسی سلسلے کے اندر آج کا ویڈیو جو ہے وہ اسی سلسلے کی ایک کڑی ہے. میں اس وقت رورل مڈ ویسٹ میں ایک بہت ہی چھوٹے گاؤں کے اندر موجود ہوں. میں موجود ہوں یہ جن خاتون سے ہماری ابھی بات چیت ہوگی ان کی پراپرٹی کے اوپر ہوں. بہت ہی خوبصورت پراپرٹی ہے ان کی. فارم ہے ایک، ان کے پاس اپنا گھوڑا ہے جس کا وہ خیال رکھتی ہیں. وہ تھوڑا بیچارہ بوڑھا ہو گیا ہے لیکن وہ پھر بھی دیکھ بھال کرنی ہے ان کی. کتا ہے ایک بہت ہی پیارا ان کے پاس، جو بہت ہی مجھے کتے بہت اچھے لگتے ہیں. سو بڑا مانوس بڑا پلے فل کتا ہے ان کے پاس. ایک بہت ساری بلیاں ہیں اور جو ہے تو لیک ہے ان کے فارم کے اندر بہت ہی خوبصورت. ایک بہت ہی خوبصورت جنگل ہے جس میں ہم نے واک کی. تو خیر وہ ساری پراپرٹی بھی ہم نے دیکھی. پھر اس کے بعد ہم لوگ بیٹھے اور ہم نے گپ شپ شروع کی. میں ایبسلیوٹلی شاک ہو گیا جب انہوں نے مجھ سے عمران خان کا ذکر کیا، جب ان کو پتہ چلا کہ میں پاکستان کو ہوں. ہم سب لوگوں کا یہ امپریشن ہے کہ امریکنز جنرلی جو ہیں وہ بڑے اگنورنٹ ہیں اور وہ امریکہ کے اندر انٹرسٹڈ ہیں اور باقی لوگوں کے اندر انٹرسٹڈ نہیں. میں ساری دنیا میں گھوم چکا ہوں، امریکیوں کو میں اچھا خاصا جانتا ہوں. میرا اپنا یہ امپریشن تھا کہ جی امریکی جو ہیں وہ انٹرسٹڈ نہیں ہیں انٹرنیشنل نیوز کے اندر. لیکن آپ کو ہر جگہ پہ ایکسیپشنز ملتی ہیں اور یہ خاتون جو ہیں یہ بالکل ایبسلیوٹلی شی از این ایکسیپشن. تو ان کے ساتھ میں نے گفتگو شروع کی اور نہ صرف یہ کہ جسٹ انہوں نے جب عمران خان کا ذکر کیا تو میں اس کے اوپر حیران ہو گیا، لیکن میں تو ایبسلیوٹلی اسپیچ لیس when she talked about the intricacies of پاکستانی پالیٹکس اور ہر ایک کیریکٹر اور ہر ایک ایونٹ کا ان کو پتا تھا. تو آئی ایم شیور کہ آپ لوگ بہت ہی انجوائے کریں گے. PTI کے عمران خان کے فینس تو میرے خیال میں they'll be ecstatic absolutely. لیکن میری نظر میں بہت ہی انٹرسٹنگ کانورسیشن تھی اور وداؤٹ اینی فردر اڈو لیٹس ڈیلو انٹو دیٹ اور جو ہے تو انجوائے کریں اس کو. لیٹس اسٹارٹ the conversation. These ones are small. You want to be in this video? You have a view on Imran Khan? Huh?
Of course. I don't want him in the house when he's like that. So, it's, a brushing at least once a day.
Yeah,
twice.
So we'll take care. Yeah, I'll just...
Don't get in the cords. Back. No. Go on. Go on.
Oh,
Go on.
yes, it's beautiful. Yeah, very nice.
You
know what? One of your guests commented about him. Do you read your comments? They said, "Oh, there was a beautiful dog. And in the morning when I came out, he brought me a toy. He was waiting outside my door."
The UPS guy, even if we're not home, he leaves. Not this kid today, but the regular one. he leaves Ezra treats on the front porch. Even if he's not
That's so
delivering
sweet.
to us.
That's so sweet.
Ezra goes up and gets in his truck with him.
Oh, wow.
So he's got friends. As the guy across the street's his buddy.
What are these?
They're their own thing, but they're good.
Own thing in a sense?
They're almost a cross between a cracker and a cookie.
Okay.
It's
Give it a try.
it's like a lot of seeds and some dried cranberries and a couple nuts. They're not really sweet, but they're not salty.
I love cranberries. We don't have cranberries in Pakistan.
I love cranberries too. Well, you don't have the climate probably to grow them.
Yeah.
The
But they're a good substitute for raisins. I like raisins in my cereal. So when I run out of raisins, I just chuck in some cranberries.
well, what about, do you like figs or dates?
Yeah, I do. Dates, I love
eat 'em a
dates.
lot.
Yeah. Dates are big in Pakistan anyway, and they have lots of dates. Figs, yeah. We dry figs. We take figs, we squeeze them like top to bottom so that it becomes a disc-like kind of thing. You squeeze it, a fresh fig, you run a rope through them and you make and you dry them.
Hang them.
Hang them and dry them. So they're very nice. They're like little medallions of figs. That's what we have in Pakistan.
Well,
Yeah.
they probably last then forever too.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
That too.
That's quite a bit.
Oh yeah, he's gonna try and get that bug. It'd be funny.
So, talking about Pakistan, that's what completely took me by surprise when you asked me, and then you said I know about Pakistan, and it just completely threw me off.
Well, you see my neighbor.
And then you talk to your neighbors about it, and then you tweet about it, and then you talk to your friends in Texas about it. And so what's with this fascination with Pakistan? Tell me, let's step back a bit. When was the first time Pakistan came on your radar? And you said, okay, here's a country, and I want to find out more.
I would say Imran Khan came on my radar before Pakistan.
Oh, okay.
But that was years ago.
So
That
you
was
know
years
Pakistan
ago.
because of Imran Khan.
No, not necessarily. Not necessarily. Well, now the knowledge that I have now would be because of.
Oh, okay.
But years ago, I've always watched like Charlie Rose, the kind of interviews where it's just one-on-one, not sensationalized, not what I call mainstream media, and where you get really a better sense of that person or that issue or whatever's being talked about. And so I had seen Imran Khan a handful of times.
Interesting. Okay.
And over the years, and I zeroed in not because of any issue that was going on or because of Pakistan, but because he was an eloquent, intelligent speaker, and I immediately recognized what I call a person who's authentic and whole, meaning the mind, body, spirit. It's a whole package. And so when somebody
put together well.
and you don't see that very much on TV. On any level, whether it's an actor, a politician, whatever. You don't see it often in life. Period. I always tell my girls, when you meet people, always keep the good ones close. You're always looking out for the good ones. That's who you keep close in your circle. So when you see that, it draws your interest. So you sit and listen, even though I don't even really know what they're talking about. And then you start to kind of learn a little bit, just because you're intrigued by this person, you learn a little bit. So for years, if you would, 3 years, 4 years ago, if you would have said Imran Khan, I'd stop and think, and I'd go, yeah, I know who that is.
Yeah, I'd seen him some time ago. Huh?
And I was impressed.
And what sort of media did you see him on? Like, was it on, do you recall, was it on TV? Was it on something on the internet?
It was on TV, and that's what I'm saying. My guess is it was probably Charlie Rose, which I don't know if you know who he was.
I think I know of him.
The Charlie Rose show.
Yeah.
Came on late at night, and it was unfortunate because in the Me Too movement, when all of those famous men dropped like flies,
Yeah.
he was the one that it hurt, because I thought of Charlie Rose as a man of full integrity.
Okay.
And so when I
So
found
he got
out,
embroiled in this Me Too
the
thing.
stuff that came out that he had done, I was just, it sent me into my woods. Everybody's media has gotten so sensationalized and so what I call just BS.
Yeah.
And so to find people, like I listen to NPR, I will watch some PBS, I'll watch some BBC. You know, if you're trying to seek knowledge and truth and intelligent information, there's few outlets left.
Yeah.
And Charlie Rose was one.
Yeah.
And then, you know, just to circle with that Me Too movement, or if you want to talk about an Imran Khan, or just, it's kind of a, they all seem unrelated, but I'm going to create a thread. Andrew Cuomo, do you know who he is?
Yeah. The governor of New York, right?
Right. And he was taken out a year ago.
Yeah.
By the progressive Me Too movement. And I knew right then, I watched the first 24 hours and I smelt something wasn't right. Something's not adding up here. This is just, then I started kind of delving in, because then, you know, you have a second one come out, then you have a third one come out. And so now everybody's saying, okay, this isn't a one-off. He's obviously a harasser, blah, 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 blah. Well, I started digging into, like, who were these people politically affiliated with? What's their backgrounds? What's, you know, because I was very upset, because I think the Democratic Party in the United States desperately needs an Andrew Cuomo. And to see him taken out like that, it was, and to be a woman who grew up and truly faced sexual harassment in the workplace, had to struggle to be recognized as an equal and an intellect when I'm having conversations.
So you could recognize true, you know, kind of abuse and versus, you know, something that
It
when
was
you
all
recognize all of this,
and it was all weaponized.
Yeah.
And so between, I found it insulting as a woman, because these are the type of women that they go to work provocatively, and then the minute they don't get what they want,
they flip and
So I was offended as being a woman, and then I was offended, like I said, because I think the Democratic Party desperately needs Andrew Cuomo. He was one of our top fighters, and they just took out one of our top generals. And I don't like to see injustice. Period.
Yeah.
Well, Andrew Cuomo comes from a family, don't get me wrong, it's a strong political family. It's an Italian family. It's New York City.
His father was the governor, right?
Yes.
And then him,
But if you listen to Mario Cuomo, Andrew Cuomo's father, he was such an eloquent politician, so well-read, so articulate and well-spoken. And when he spoke and when he governed, he brought in all the senses of people, cultures, history, you know, I mean, Latin. I mean, he was like an Imran Khan, like a whole person, not just, I'm gonna
run for office and repeat what the people want me to hear.
Right side. Repeat the rhetoric of the left side.
Yeah.
They're well-rounded people, and so that was part of the reason why I was such an Andrew Cuomo fan. And he was strong. Yeah, he was a masculine man. But you're not going to get a non-masculine man that can take on that level of power. I know with Imran Khan, they talk about his deflectors or whatever, that, you know, he's self-centered and he's full of himself and, you know, yada, 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 and he's on an ego trip and blah, 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 blah. And he's, arrogant. And I don't know how much of it's a cultural difference, but sometimes in some of his mannerisms, I do see maybe a little bit of arrogance or what have you. But again, for a person, especially a man, to possess whatever it is, the inner strength to show that power out to the world, you get Imran Khan's, Volodymyr Zelensky's, Andrew Cuomo's, and they are kind of man-mans.
Yeah,
they're not.
You need that kind of a bit of that
testosterone,
standoffish, you know, kind of a bit a bit of stubborn. It's a nice, it's a mix of being a bit stubborn, being a bit thought of as being a bit more snobbish, a bit more, off-puttish, but you need to project that power in order to keep people,
well, I think it's, I don't know,
in
do
check,
you know who
isn't
Bill
it?
Maher is?
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
Bill Maher
big
is
fan.
always
Yeah,
like
yeah.
popping back at the left,
Yeah.
even though he is from the left.
Yeah.
He's always like, look at yourself,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And there is some truth to, I think, we're still of the world where there does need to be a little, you got to be able to throw down.
Yeah, so you see, there's you touched upon it when you said everything's fine until you don't get your way, and then you can turn around and weaponize that same thing, and use it against the person. So yeah, there's a lot of that going on. Yeah, so I can understand. So you think Imran Khan is embodies a bit of that, right? A bit of stubbornness, a bit of kind of that
He's
masculine.
competitive. He's competitive. He's a little bit arrogant. Like, laugh at me and tell me I'm not going to do it,
Yeah.
and then watch. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And but the crazy when I'm trying to get anybody here in this country interested in Pakistan, what's going on in Pakistan, reminding them, every once in a while, take your blinders off.
Yeah.
There's all of these things that you think doesn't affect you because it's not your country. It is affecting you, whether it's through
Interesting.
defense
Okay.
spending, whether it's through whether we end up in another war. I mean, it does ultimately someday affect yourself. But so when I try and explain Imran Khan, because it's like, how much time do you got? Most people aren't going to give you that kind of time. So I say, okay, take the masculinity and the guyman of Andrew Cuomo, the physique, the looks. Take Andrew Cuomo, and the power that he displays. I said, then take the intellect and the plain speak, to be able to speak to everybody at all levels and calling it just like it is, and speaking sheer truth. Take Bernie Sanders. Take those two people and combine them together, and that's the closest I can come up with for you in a quick, short amount of time to try and describe an Imran Khan.
Interesting.
Now, is that really right? I don't know, but if I'm trying to
it's more
quickly portray
it's more or less right.
why do I pay attention to this person, or what do I find admirable about this person, those would be my...
That would sum it up, Otherwise, it's a long kind of, there's a long list. But
how
if you
long
want
do
to
you
sum it
have?
up,
Are you going to listen to me for 2 hours?
Yeah, that's true. Well, Imran Khan fans will listen to you for hours on end. I mean,
But these people don't even know who he
I
is.
know. Yeah.
So,
No, but for the people that know, I mean, in Pakistan, that's why I find this thing so fascinating. That's why I wanted to sit down and talk to you, is because people in Pakistan, I'm sure when they see this, they're going to be surprised. I mean, their impression is that in America, generally, people are, first of all, not very interested. Even if they are, they're kind of ill-informed and ignorant. They have they look at everything from their
Blinders.
colored eyes. They
Blinders.
have a bit of blinders on. So therefore, for the people that would know, their opinion is going to be very, skewed and stuff. But you seem to be, just like you said, well put together. Like, your thoughts seem very, even to me, they seem very different. I think I know Americans very well, because I've been in this culture a long time. I've talked to a lot of people. I think I know them pretty well. But even with you surprised me, like sort of, I wasn't expecting this.
like I said, you never know what you find out in the sticks.
Even I didn't think that, somebody would be this informed, would actually spend the time to find out, would understand it so well. I mean, you explained many things to me that even I can't explain, why people have this fascination with Imran Khan. So a lot of things, when you said that, I said, yeah, you know what? She articulated better
But
than me.
I dove deep.
Yeah.
And my grandfather, who was very in this what we call redneck country, small town, all that kind of stuff. Even though that was his life, the one thing I remember about him was Sunday nights he always watched National Geographic. And he had the books and stuff like that. And so even though he lived in what I would call a small-minded, his universe, he had the curiosity that even though he couldn't, his mind
Would
was
wander off and
curious
would go
about what's going on in other countries, what's our other cultures like, what are, whatever. And then my grandmother on my other side, my maternal side, she was a real people person too, and she had, like with a nature, she was a very curious person. And I think informed people are curious people.
Yes.
And I think that's where it all comes from, is you're curious about whatever.
Yeah.
And so then you dive into it.
It's surprising because just a few days ago when I was getting on this trip, I talked to a very, very good friend of mine. He's a fascinating guy. I wish he could. He was supposed to come on the trip with me, but so he was doing a little sit down like this with me because he's got a huge following. He's a fascinating guy. He was with me in college. He did his MBA. He was an ex Air Force. He was in the Air Force before he came for his MBA.
So it's Pakistani. Or
Pakistani now in Canada. Then he did his. There's a central exam that you do in order to get into the bureaucracy in Pakistan. So he did that, and he became a customs and taxation officer. Then he wrote a play and put it on TV.
Oh, he's been all over.
And acted himself, and he became a huge star. Then he made his own movie. That movie was about Pakistan and politics and corruption and everything. So it got banned. They said you can't show this movie; it'll just rile people up to.
What time frame?
This movie was about 3 years ago, and then he immigrated to Canada. Okay, and he was so kind of angry about this. He put the movie on YouTube and he said, "Watch it for free." So all of Pakistan got to see it anyway. So he's famous. He's a star. He's got a huge following.
Well, I got to know who this guy is.
I'll
give this movie.
I'll give you all the details. So he's a very good friend of mine. So when I was coming on this trip, and he was supposed to be on this trip with me, but he couldn't. So then he did a small interview with me and said, "You know what? I find this fascinating. You're going on this trip. You've built this trailer." He put it on his YouTube. I'll give you all the links. You can watch it. So we were talking about exactly the same thing, and he said, "Why are you doing this? Because people that I know don't do this. They just don't wander off and say, I want to do Route 66." And I told him, I said, it's an inherent curiosity. It's not just Route 66. I mean, it doesn't represent my history. I mean, my family didn't travel on the Route 66, but I'm fascinated by it. If other people did, I want to find out why they did it and what it meant to people.
You're not a wanderer and
exactly.
You're missing out, because the spontaneity and what's around the corner is how you
absolutely. So it's that inherent curiosity that takes you around, and that's when you find things. That's how you found Imran Khan. That's how you found Pakistan. That's how because you were wandering, and you're looking at things.
You got to throw it out there. You got to believe, that this goodness is going to come. The blessings come when you believe it, and
Yeah.
And so, like a weekend, he's like, "Man, I'm sticking with you because you're right." I mean, he's like, "I can't believe all these great things that the kindness here and the spontaneity here." Well, think about this. Mm-hmm. I've been doing Boondockers now for what? I don't know, 3 years. Mm-hmm. And I don't take a lot of people. I don't get a lot of requests to begin with, but I don't take a lot of people since COVID and just the neighborhood and this and that. But on the other hand, if I'm going to use it, you got to open it up.
Yeah,
so you got to pay to play.
Yeah.
Fair. So, in the last, I don't know, 3 months, I've done this deep dive into Pakistan. Mm-hmm. Can't get anybody that interested here to talk about it, to share, what do you think? What do you think? Whatever, And what does the universe drop in my lap?
Pakistani says
I
that I want to say
cannot go out and search. Think about this. If I said, I want to meet a Pakistani that speaks fluent English, that is culturally close enough that we can have a conversation and pick their brain, how long would it take me to go find somebody?
Yeah, true. Yeah.
And so the universe just dropped in.
Yeah, so that's what what I want to come back to.
That's the blessing.
You put it out, and the universe, it responds back. Yeah. That's true. And when you said that, this boondocking thing and going out in the open, a lot of my friends actually told me, they said, you know what, you're actually going to stay in strangest places, Americans, with your name. They said you should have given yourself some other nickname or something, because when you say Wasim Sayed, like, this is not right. They're going to say, who is this? Who's this guy who's coming in? And I said, look, I haven't changed my name in Canada when I moved. I don't want to anglicize it. I want to tell everybody this is who I am. If they want to take me in, and what I want to do is, conversely, I want to do the same thing. I want to stop at different places and talk to different people.
When I started that Airbnb at the house before I did the boondocking, I've hosted doctors. I call them doctors in the making because they're, doing their rotations and stuff.
Uh-huh.
And so, I've had people from all over the world. All over the world. And you get to know them because they're living in your house. You get to have dinners with them, this and that. And I'm like, I tell my friends, do you know how blessed I am? Because I can sit in my pajamas.
Yeah.
In my pajamas. I don't have to take a shower. I don't have to get dressed, let alone get on a plane, a bus, a car. And I call it cheap traveling, lazy traveling. Because
get to know cultures. Yeah, get to know people.
I'm sitting here in my kitchen talking to people from all over the world.
Yeah.
And made no effort.
Yeah. Excellent. Yeah. But you know what? Would you say that you're, I think that you're unique in that sense. Not use the word unique, I think that's a bit too hard, but you're rare, okay? Do you think that you're rare amongst Americans to think this way? Because you remember yesterday we talked about this thing, that the Americans tend to think that, what's happening here is the right way and anything else we're just not interested, But you seem to be the opposite, isn't it? You seem to be curious, you want to find out, you explore. Like, what's this dichotomy? Are you not American enough, or like, what is it?
Well, I am European. My grandmother was French. My great-grandmother was French, and there's no doubt I'm physically, genetically her. You see the nose. And I don't like to bathe every day like Americans. So I'm more European.
You're more French.
The way I eat, just. But anyway, I would not say that I'm rare. What I would say is, Bernie Sanders. I became a Bernie Sanders fan, supporter, and I actually went out and campaigned, knocked on doors, and all that kind of stuff. Got involved because I believed in what he was speaking. I dove deep into him, went back years, watched stuff. Knew that this authenticity. He's speaking the same speak he spoke for 30 years. But the other reason why is when you get into these groups of other Bernie Sanders why do I keep using the word fans, supporters, you start realizing how informed they are. These people do their homework. Like, if a Bernie Sanders supporter said something to me that I was like if somebody else said it, I'd be like, that's not true. You know what I mean?
But when they say it, you say, yeah.
I say, I'm going to have to go look that up. Because every time I ever debate or have discussions with you people, you've done your homework.
Yeah.
When I check it out, you've done your homework. They're informed people. And I lost where I was going with this. So there are a lot of Americans that are like me. There's not enough. And they're not what I would call the mainstream. They're off the beaten track people. Like when I said to you about the 3 places I would send people in Springfield, the Penny Lane, the Food Fantasies. When I first moved here from Chicago, I was in shock at just how uncultured, no ethnic food. We don't have a university in Springfield. And even though I grew up in a much smaller town, there was a university. So we had more ethnic people in town. We had more, I I don't know if progressive's the right word, but you had the influence of the university. Springfield doesn't have it. It's very white, it's very Republican, and it's very Fox News.
Oh, is it?
I
didn't know that. I thought Obama, kind of sprung from here, isn't it? He was a senator here.
No.
I thought all of Illinois.
He was an Illinois senator.
Yeah, but not
see,
from Springfield, right? Oh, okay.
Chicago is such a weight. It's such a big city
Oh,
that
okay.
it dominates Illinois.
But the rest of Illinois, you would say, is more Republican, right?
When you get, if this is Illinois, I don't know, shaped like this,
Yeah.
and here's the lake, and here's Chicago. I-80 kind of runs at an angle
Yeah.
right here, and north of I-80 is probably going to be liberal. South of I-80 is probably going to be Republican. So even though Springfield is what I call a very, some people would say saltine, crispy white, cracker Republican town, you live here long enough, you get into the right circles and you find out, no, there's a whole cool underground of people everywhere. I mean, great music, organic farming, big liberal, progressive with the Bernie Sanders, like that kind of stuff. But if you just come into town and you don't know anybody, that's really probably not going to be what you run into. The chances are you're going to run into the other.
More conservative,
Yes.
crowd. Okay.
And so I think that's a good picture of America in all. I think there's a lot of very well-informed people in America. They're just not plenty enough that that's who you're running into all the time.
I all of a sudden, it just crossed my mind that there is another thing common between Bernie Sanders and Imran Khan. And one of the things that people say in Pakistan is they say, if you want to find out how true a person is and what he's standing for is against the status quo, and he's trying to bring change, is see at his opposition and see how the opposition coalesces and gets together. Everybody gangs up on him. And it's the same with Bernie Sanders too. It's the same with Bernie Sanders. Just because he's speaking the truth and he wants to bring change, everybody kind of gangs up on him. So he said, if you want to find out the weight of a person's argument and the clarity of his purpose and what the change that he wants to bring about, look at his opposition. And if they've all ganged up, people who generally would not get together, but if they all gang up against one person, that means this person is the right person to support.
Well, and he was too popular with the people.
Yeah.
It's funny because I told you about having it wasn't until I got into the Pakistan and Imran Khan that I actually started tweeting. I followed Ukraine, I followed other stuff, the Canadian Ottawa trucker takeover and all that. But with Imran Khan, I started tweeting. And I told you about seeing the similarities between the opposition parties, people, the common day people, and the PTI and the Bernie Sanders supporters. I see, yes, the features may be different, but I recognize the things they say to each other, how they engage in dialogue. Like the PTI a lot of times is bringing up what I would call issues. And that's what Bernie Sanders people do. So let's talk the issues. Let's talk the facts. Let's talk about the economy and what the real numbers are. Whereas MAGA people, and I've noticed with like the PMD, the PPP and the PLMN, they just automatically resort to name calling. I'm going to humiliate you, and I'm not even going to talk about an issue. So, and the other thing is all these people that get together, the establishment, they try and write off PTI, the youth. And that's a way of saying they're naive, they're young, we can't take them seriously, they don't know any better. They did the exact same thing with Bernie Sanders. The exact same thing. Only people that follow Bernie Sanders are the youth. And that's because they're naive and they don't know what they're talking about. Which is not true. You go to a Bernie Sanders rally, which were massive, just like Imran Khan's, and you look at the audience, and there's all the grandmas and grandpas, right along with the youth. And so I've even tweeted out, where they're like and a PTI guy
You
and
know,
a PPP person are like doing
this
this to
is-
each other. And you know, they're thinking, where'd this American come in interjecting this shit, you know? Because I'm like, I'll tweet and I'll say, yep, just like MAGA here, you know, let's not discuss the issue.
You've kind of shocked me, even though we've been talking about this since yesterday. You still shocked me again when you said, the PMLN and the PP. And I said, wow, she actually knows about them. It's like, wow.
You know, I was the only one. Here's the crazy thing. Which this is when I started getting Pakistani followers. I told you before, I tweet to POTUS every day and Secretary Blinken and this and that. So I did a tweet to them.
So this camera is full, so I'm going to turn this off, and I'm going to turn this camera towards you because your view is more important, rather than looking at my mug. I'll be there on the second camera. Okay, yeah, so sorry. Keep it
No,
going.
it's okay.
I'll adjust this. Yeah. Keep talking, yeah. So when you did your tweeting and...
Well, there was one particular tweet, and I mean, I have to admit this. I spent like 15 minutes getting my facts together because I knew them all, but you got to condense in a tweet, right? And so one tweet was to like what I would call, the United States powerhouses, and the other tweet was to all the Western media. New York Times, BBC, blah 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 blah, and I basically put dates and events, and said, like to the media, like why no reporting, and to like the government, like my blinders aren't off. I'm seeing what's happening, and the dates were, I can't remember them now, but when I very first started delving into this, when I heard that Imran Khan was being taken out, I Googled immediately because, like I said, I was always impressed with it. Then when I read what he had said about the cipher, and I don't even know if back then they were calling it the cipher, but that's when I was like, okay, I need to know if my government was behind this or not. And that was the dive. The more I read, I went back, so this would have been the spring, as it was happening in May. I went back in 2021 and just Googled Pakistan, and I started seeing where an entourage of Americans, diplomats, went over and visited with Bajwa. How do you say his name?
Yeah, Bajwa, yeah.
And with
the opposition leaders.
And not Imran Khan.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, this is kind of looking like maybe Imran Khan's not bullshitting on this. Then I see on, I could look up the tweet and tell you the exact dates, but it was like, okay, we drone strike the dude over in Kabul.
Yeah.
2 days before we drone striked him, General Bajwa called Wendy at the Secretary of State to ask for the IMF funds. There's no doubt that was a trade. It's just...
Even I didn't know that.
I put puzzles together. You see behind you? I love puzzles. I do puzzles. And so to me, and this goes back to accounting.
That fit right.
You take those pieces of puzzles and you start playing with them and moving them around. And this is not chronological coincidence. There is no doubt that we traded Bajwa. He said, that's fine. You can strike to my country, release the IMF funds. That was one of them. The other one is when I can't remember what it was. There was 3, and I just like bullet pointed them.
And
there was no, and that's when I started getting the Pakistani followers. That's when I started, somehow, I don't know what in my tweet.
So you keep surprising me. You keep surprising me. I mean, even I didn't know that. That's surprising.
But I'm an analyst. I'm an analyst.
But listen. Here's another thing. You mentioned your tweets and your Pakistani connection and the Pakistanis following you. Would you mind me putting your Twitter handle in this video and saying, if you want to connect with an American and get to find out about what's happening there, or if you just want to be more informed and stuff, they can interact with you.
No, that's
the people.
fine with
Okay,
me.
so I'll put your Twitter handle, underneath, just so if somebody wants to reach out, they can reach out to you.
Well, that's why I said I don't have very many followers because I haven't been on Twitter very long. And before, I never tweeted.
Okay.
I just read. But right now, I don't know if I have, I don't know if it's 20, 25, but 3/4 of them are Pakistani.
Yeah, so,
Which
so
is
probably
funny.
so probably you're gonna get many more. But you know what? If you're okay with that, I'll do that. I'll put your Twitter handle, and if somebody wants to just get a perspective on what the American take on things is and stuff, I think you're very well informed. You're well read. You're open minded. And obviously you're born and bred an American living here in small town USA, and your views are authentic, and so I think it'll be a big service to people in Pakistan who want to just get a sense of what normal Americans are thinking, or a bit well informed Americans are.
Well, I was
right?
gonna. I want to tell you this because it was kind of a progression for me. Like I said, when I first became aware of Imran Khan, these are going to get worse.
Yeah. I'm just kind of ignoring them. They're all over the place. Yeah.
Because he impressed me. Then when I wanted to know, is the U.S. behind us? That's when I dove. And in part of my dive, it was Pakistan politics, which then took me into Pakistan history and geopolitics and all that. But I was also diving into who's Imran Khan?
Yeah.
Who is he really? Like I did with Bernie Sanders.
Yeah.
And so, I'm watching interviews back when he was still playing cricket and, reading and this and that. And when I found out about, again, I'm not going to pronounce it right, Shakut, the hospital that he did.
Yeah, Shaukat Khan. It's a mouthful even for us.
And I watched him at it must be for the Cricket Association. He was a guest speaker or whatever. And he impressed me. And it was funny because even though he was talking about cricket, he was talking about the rules and how it used to be. And then, of course, the India, Pakistan, But he was talking about how it used to be almost acceptable cheating, like the referees.
I remember that interview. Remember. And he was the one that, kind of...
very much about fairness. Are you really winning?
Mutual empires.
Yes. And he was saying, are you really winning?
Yeah.
If you're doing it through cheating.
Yeah.
So again, there's that authenticity.
Yeah.
He has enough pride and integrity that he doesn't want to win if he's going to win over cheating.
Precisely.
I'm a pool player.
Yeah.
I grew up, my dad was a great pool player. And so to me, when Trump started in this country, and it was freaking me out that people were buying that. Yeah. Because to me, I would say, this is like playing a game of pool with somebody that you can't walk away from the table, or they'll cheat, or they'll take that cheap shot. Because to me in pool, it's a game left of integrity.
Yeah.
You only take a shot that you yourself know was a good shot and you meant to do it. And so I recognize that in Imran Khan. But where I was going this, but so when I watched the whole thing about the cricket and then the hospital and this and that, I was like, my God, I think I have moved to my adoration. I think adoration with this person.
Yeah, the guy, he has a lot of substance to him. So adoration, it comes
then I
from...
watched, and it just stumbled. YouTube offered it to me, the 2019 UN speech.
Okay.
And I watched it from beginning to end, and I was sitting in my bed with my little iPad, and I was so impressed halfway through that I literally stood up, because I wanted a cigarette. They were in my bathroom. Stood up to grab a cigarette, and as I'm standing up, I thought, what did I say? My God, if I moved from adulation to
worship or something.
I can't remember the word. But I was like, this guy is all that in a bag of chips.
Yeah.
Like, I am so impressed. Yeah. And then my second thought was what I told you about Zelensky.
Yeah.
There's not just one pair you can see from space.
From space. There's two pairs
up there. You know? And that's when I called my friend from Texas and said, you gotta check this guy out.
Yeah.
I mean, whether it's politics, whether it's inspirational speaking, whether it's just motivation on how to be a better person. I mean, he is, and that's what I try and tell people. Pakistan has 220 million people. It's the fourth or fifth largest country in the world.
Yeah.
And what is happening there right now is his making history, even though Western media is not covering it.
It's not at all, right?
It's not. And what is happening is a historical moment. It does not happen this often to see this many people rise up behind an individual of any caliber. Imran Khan, I mean, think back in history in your lifetime. I'm not talking about all the way in history, but in your lifetime, when you think of a high caliber person, how many can you name?
Yeah.
Truly what I call high caliber people. And I find it a bit of a phenomenon.
Yeah.
Mixed up with everything else that's going on in geopolitics and how the whole world's moving to the right and the whole human greed thing and all that. To see this one voice with such clarity, and I'm not saying he's always right. I'm not saying he doesn't have faults.
Nobody is. Yeah.
But there are times when I look at him and see those bags and I think, does this man sleep? How is he conjuring up what it's taking to do this right now? And I'm not a religious person, but I do believe whether you want to call it
God or
divine,
universe or
whether you want to call it the universe, whatever, that power is coming through him.
Yeah.
That is what is
propelling him.
That is what is giving him the eloquence, the fight, the drive, and I think people recognize it. It's like it's coming out through him, and it's bringing people up.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I see happening.
And now I think he's reached a point. You see, if you look at every cataclysmic change in history, or any change of large magnitude, it kind of builds up to a crescendo, and then the tipping point comes over, and that's where, let's say the roller coaster, it tips over and takes speed. I think that point has come in Pakistan. I think a lot of people now have realized what he's saying. His message was not resonating for a long time, right? His struggle has been 25 years. He's been in politics 25 years. People weren't taking him seriously, even though his message was exactly the same. And the condition of the country was the same. We were in bad shape even 25 years ago. We are in bad shape now. But somehow his message was not resonating. People knew that the leadership is corrupt. But now it's reached a stage where it's reached that crescendo. And I think the people a majority of them are after him. The recent election, there was a by-election, I think the results show, that. Yeah.
It's the second one he swept.
Yeah. I'm surprised that you know
this
again.
The other thing is he...
oh my God.
Everything, not everything, but many things that this person has set out to accomplish, he's been laughed at.
Yeah.
And that's what I meant about he's got just enough testosterone. What I really call it is he has an inner confidence that I'm not sure some people have it, some people don't.
Yeah.
He has a strong inner confidence that says, I can take the humiliation, I can take the being laughed at, I'm okay, I'm moving forward with what I believe. It's a very strong sense of self. And so he's accustomed to being laughed at, and fine. And he just keeps on with whatever he's doing. And hopefully, if you want to throw it out to the gods, because he's always prevailed, almost always when he's laughed at, I'm hoping somehow, I don't know how, but somehow he's going to prevail in this too.
He will. He will. I think he's at a very good point in his life. You know, in his struggle. I think
I
he's
don't
at
know
a
that
point.
the U.S. is going to
Yeah.
let him prevail. Is what I'm.
You know
worried
what?
about.
Sometimes I don't know. I might have to come back and bite my words. But anyway, but I think we overestimate sometimes the influence that the effectiveness influence. Obviously the U.S. has, but the effectiveness of their interventions, because they have more of a history of bungle ups and failed operations rather than actually accomplishing something. So they do intervene, but it doesn't necessarily. At times it blows up in their face, right? So well, most of the times there's quite a bit of history of that. So I'm thinking, yes, there's going to be opposition from the U.S. There's going to be some sort of effort to. Even though I don't know why the U.S. would want to do that, but anyway,
It's all
if there
to do
is,
with China and Russia.
yeah, but if there is, I think it's not going to be that effective. I think the people of Pakistan have risen up. Really, they've really realized now that things are really bad, and it's not, and nothing's going to change if they don't bring about change. So that's. I'm still a bit skeptical though, as far as the final result of all of this would be, and that is not because of any shortcoming of Imran Khan.
Or it's whether it's doable by anybody.
It's the people. It's the people of Pakistan. Pakistan has been robbed so much for so long, not just of money. It's intellect. They've been robbed of a voice. People have stopped thinking critically. Their education is not good enough. Their critical thinking has been really stifled. So there's this really rabid, kind of strange religiosity that's there, which kind of stuns your logic, that kind of
Stuns your growth.
Exactly. So all of these things combined, the incompetence, the robbing, the poverty, the lack of education, the lack of awareness, all of these combined in the mass population of Pakistan. That's what makes me a bit skeptical that change is going to come. But at least you see, because the example that I give to people is I say, look, it's easy to knock over a wall, okay, but you have to rebuild it then, right? So if you don't have the ability to rebuild it straight or better, there's no point in knocking the wall down because you're going to build it crooked again. And that's what my worry is that Pakistan doesn't have the capacity to be able to build a straight wall. Imran Khan.
But let me ask. It's not just whether they have the capacity.
Yeah.
There's that, and then there's. I'm going to compare, and who comes to mind. And again, as an American, I'm a minority in this. In America, since the '60s, we've been taught that Cuba and Fidel Castro are awful.
Yeah.
And we still have a horrible embargo against them.
Yeah.
And I say, look at it the other way. If you knew the history and you understood why there was a revolution,
Yeah.
and if you said, okay, here's this tiny little country with this monster that said to the majority of the world, starve them out, and they have lived and lasted this long against this monster. You might think of Fidel as a hero.
Yeah,
You just might. Now, am I saying that Fidel did not have human rights issues and everything else? Yes, he did.
Yeah.
But Fidel was not allowed the room to reestablish a functioning government. We forced him into going to the Soviets. We forced him into many of the moves that he made because we closed all the world's doors to him. And so again, I'm not saying he was all good or he was all bad. But I do think there's some admirable things. And for the first, I don't know how many years, if you weren't the wealthy Baptista people, they looked at Fidel as a father figure. I mean, he tried to educate the country. He tried to explain things to the country to take away the oppressed mindset. And he was so revered.
Yeah.
And I don't know, again, because the doors were closed to this, I don't know that they could have had elections and had their own functioning government.
Or slowly move towards, kind of a bit more openness and
but
a bit
they had
more,
to be able to trade and have and so he became like the father of Cuba. And I have been watching Imran Khan, and it dawned on me one day, and I tweeted this out there. You know, when he came to fame, he was the son of Pakistan.
Yeah.
The son of Pakistan that went out, brought Pakistan to the World Cup. The son of Pakistan is now becoming the father of Pakistan.
Wow.
Do you not see that?
Wow.
I mean, you look at the pictures, and you look at the people and the hope in their eyes.
Oh my God.
Of all ages, you look at the audience, and I'll post like on a Facebook or Twitter for my American friends that have no idea what's going on. And, you know, there's be this wonderful picture, and they're looking up and they're listening, and you see the hope. You see the want of change.
You have given me such a beautiful quote.
All I'll type is hope. And those are the ones that get most the acknowledgement and the likes on and so forth. So I do. I think that he is forever going to be known, like Gemma. Yeah. He is going to be known no matter what happens to him.
Oh my! You
as the father of Pakistan.
I think we need to end this here because this is the crescendo that you. Oh my God! This is beautiful. So,
He's very moving.
The son of Pakistan becomes the father of
Has
Pakistan.
become the father of Pakistan.
Wow! Some of my friends. One of my friends. He lives in New Hampshire. And rabid Imran Khan fan, or supporter, whatever you can say. And I told him, I said, I'm doing this interview. I sent him a message yesterday, and I said, I'll give you a shout out. His name is Zaid Malik, you know, and a very good friend of mine from school. We argue a lot, but very good, close friends, yeah. He, and I can think of one of my cousins who's here in Chicago, you know, Masood, this big shout out to him. They are going to be ecstatic. Oh my God. I'm just thinking that, you know, when this video is finalized and they see it, you guys are going to just, your minds are going to be blown.
You know, one of the, because it's been driving me nuts that we're not getting the Western media's, you know, when Pakistan is in the Western news, besides the floods, obviously, but, you know, like when Sharif and Bhutto were over here, in New York a couple weeks ago, you know, they just or the finance minister, the freaking government flew in. They just act like it's a normal functioning government. Yeah. They don't say a word about this guy's got to go to the Supreme Court when he lands because he's a wanted criminal. You know, there's no background. And so I'm always like knocking on the doors at the New York Times, you know, do your job.
My God,
you know?
I am so.
And I'll say to
I'm surprised that you know all of this.
So every once in a while I'll post on Facebook, and what I'll say, like there was a picture of Sharif, and it was just about like normal business or whatever. And I'll say, can you imagine if Trump was convicted of all the crimes that he did? He had to leave the country to not be incarcerated, and then he was reinstalled over you. Can you imagine after he stole all the reason? You know, and I try and say to Americans, can you imagine if this happened to you, to our country, you know, that kind of stuff. But somebody needs to write. I don't have time, or I would, and it would never get published anywhere. Anyway, but to me, and I couldn't decide if the title would be Pakistan has a Bernie Sanders problem. It's called Imran Khan. Or the United States has another Bernie Sanders problem. It's called Imran Khan. Because to me,
you should write.
Imran Khan is again so different than Bernie, but yet he is the same as far as he speaks simply, plainly, and just says it like it is, basically. And so does Bernie. Yeah. Which is why so many people love him, but it's also why so
very
many
scary
people
to so many people. Yeah,
don't. It's because they think, I don't know, he must not be slick enough, or he must not be intelligent enough, or he must not be connected enough.
Or it scares a lot of people because their interests lie elsewhere. You know, I mean, so and what these guys say rock the foundation of whatever they've built their entire things on, you know.
Well, the elite, I agree. I mean, our Democratic Party in our 2020 election primary, when it was Bernie versus Joe Biden, our Democratic Party was more willing to have Trump for another 4 years than to have Bernie Sanders. And that lets you know just how corrupt the entire system is. We can sit all day on the left and say it's all Republicans, and it's not true. The left is stealing from this country through the DOD, what we talked about, just like the right is. They're trading stocks on inside information, just like the right is. And Bernie Sanders, they know he's just too true. I mean, and so they really were more willing to have Trump reelected for 4 years than to have Bernie Sanders become president. That's how high the stakes were. That's how high the stakes were when it comes to wealth and power. There has been an awakening in this country. And it's really frustrating when you talk to the MAGA people. They think about a young kid that gets some knowledge for the first time. And they get one sentence of knowledge. They have no foundation, no context, no history or whatever, but they get this one sentence. And now they're going to walk around like they know everything, and they're going to use that one sentence
to summarize.
I am so intelligent now.
Make America great again.
And so it's good in a way, and you're probably can relate to this with Pakistan. It's good in a way that all of a sudden, all of these people who have had this insulated protection and not have to pay attention to our politics, somebody else is taking care of it. Everything always runs. The clocks are on, the buses run, the trains run. I don't ever have to be a civic person. I don't have to get involved. Well, it's gotten so bad in this country with the hollowing out, the injustices, the lack of money, this kind of stuff, that people are waking up going, I need to be paying attention. So the right is waking up, so is the left. It just so happens that the left's a little more educated, a little wider, round, sphered, does more research. The right is not. So now you're arguing or debating with somebody who wants to be involved, but they have no idea how to be involved. And they're gullible, and they believe that Nancy Pelosi eats babies. So I want to be involved now. Let me take my AR-15 machine gun and stand there and point it at people while they count ballots. That's how I'm going to participate, because it's my right. And I want to participate in my government now. They're the kind of people you don't want to participate.
You have summarized it so well for me. They were, beautiful. You know what? Sometimes you should write. It's because the way you explain things and the way you articulate them, they're really, really, really well thought out and
between work, this place, and thinking, it doesn't leave much time for documenting. I mean, I'm just being honest, really.
I'll give you. After we're done with this, there's a few things. So I have to give you Asher's movie link and his YouTube link. The friend of mine that went through, made a movie, and he's a movie star. And I have to give you a link. It's a link to there's a very well-respected journalist out there. Well, at least I like him very much. And he has a website on international relations, and because that's his specialty. He studied here in Columbia, and Columbia graduate, and he's into international politics and stuff. And he's an anchor in Pakistan. He's a news person, anchor.
What's
he has
his
his
name?
own Moeed Pirzada. So I'll give you his YouTube link. If you want to get a good perspective on, an educated kind of,
Does he do it in English though?
Yeah.
Thank you, because I'm following all this in Pakistan.
Yeah,
and
he does it in English, and he's got a website, and it's free for people to post on and kind of write articles on and stuff. Very nice website, Global Village Space. It's a global space for all kinds of views and stuff and everything. And what I'd suggest is start writing. Don't think about writing is also like muscle memory. Once you start doing it, it's like just the way, and it's your native language. I'm sure we struggle a lot to write something in English because it's not our native language. But if you're thinking and you're typing, it'll come out nice, because that's your language. What I'd suggest is start writing on this global village space and start contributing, and you'll see first of all, it'll be great for Pakistani people. I think it'll be absolutely wonderful for them to hear a typical, normal American view, and you'll be able to engage with them. And this guy is very interesting. And he reads all of those articles himself, and he's very interested in all of that. He's read a few. I've written in that. He's read my articles.
I reached out. I do. I want this guy because I actually reached out to a guy. Mm-hmm. He's not Pakistani. He is a writer, and he's got a movie coming out. But he has been. It was driving me nuts that there was no coverage. Mm-hmm. And because he is a journalist, mm-hmm. and because I can't remember what I saw, but he was very informed on Pakistan mm-hmm. and Afghanistan, I reached out to him on Twitter, and you know what? He actually responded.
Wow.
I sent him a message.
Mm-hmm.
How do I... Adrian Levy is the guy's name.
Okay.
And I'm trying to remember, it was a couple years ago that he was very involved. But I saw him on YouTube, and he was talking about Pakistan and that time. And I can't remember. It was Pakistan and Afghanistan and the Taliban and mm-hmm. the sowing the seeds of terrorism mm-hmm. and, how the U.S. actually... Mm-hmm. trained and that kind of stuff, mm-hmm. more from a military mm-hmm. standpoint. Mm-hmm. But I was surprised. I reached out to him and just basically said, I don't understand. Mm-hmm. Why is there no coverage? Is it that, I said, is it that, there's certain topics, foreign topics that maybe the U.S. is saying we don't really want coverage on right now, to like the owners of...
Yeah. It's
or is it that journalists are seasoned enough and they think, the people won't care, so I'm not going to even put it out there? He basically said there's so much going on in the world, there's not space, was his answer. As a matter of fact, he said, thanks for the message. Mm-hmm. The Western press are transfixed by America and Ukraine and China and Russia. Nothing new there. In fact, Americans are mostly obsessed about America. Mm-hmm. There's so little space to get heard. But people are struggling to cover Pakistan and understand and explain. Mm-hmm. There's just not enough of us. What's going on right now may only make sense in the near future when we get some space to ask questions and get some answers. Mm-hmm. Thanks for reaching out to me.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
But anyway.
Interesting. What a fabulous evening I've spent. What a great conversation. What a great.
Well, like I said, I just feel like it's such a universal blessing gift.
Oh my God.
That of all the people that could have asked to stay, of all the people that I would want to talk to right now, who drops in my lap?
Well, that's wonderful. It was really, really great, and I'm sure the people are going to love it, and they're going to be just as surprised and surprised is not the word, just as shocked as I was. So thanks for your time again. Thanks for doing all of this. And like I said, I'll put your Twitter handle down there. You'll hear a lot from